Warning. This episode contains adult language and adult humor.
Since when have trumpet players ever been considered adults?
If you are easily offended by these types of conversations, consider switching to the oboe. Welcome to the Trumpet Gurus Hang podcast. I'm your host, Jose Johnson. My guest for this episode is Mike Williams. Mike is an outstanding trumpet player and educator. After playing in the world-famous North Texas State 1 O'Clock Band, Mike held down the lead trumpet chair in the Count Basie Orchestra for an amazing 31-year run. Mike is on the cutting edge of music education and is on the faculty for a trend-setting online Masters of Jazz Performance program. Mike is a road dog and a swamp dog, and his cooking is just as hot and tasty as his playing. So pour yourself a big glass, pull up a chair, and let the hang begin. All right, welcome to this episode of the Trumpet Gurus Hang, and I am hanging today with the one and only Mr. Mike Williams. What's up, Mike?
You, baby.
You.
We all know what's up, right?
Yes. We know it's down. The price of gas is down, believe it or not. So, couldn't believe it. I was at the gas station the other day. It's like less than $2. The first time I've seen that in a long time.
Well, here I paid $1.17 yesterday for the gas for the log splitter. Those who know what I've been doing for the last 4 days, and it's kind of high up here. So I'm in the Detroit area, but where I'm from in Louisiana, it's always like 50 cents cheaper. But I don't think it's 50 cents cheaper.
Well, we're going to be hanging today. We're going to be talking all kinds of stuff. So, and in keeping with tradition, I have my hang juice today. Today I have a wonderful, my own version of a Manhattan. I'm shy of any ingredients, so I'm just having a little bourbon and cherry here. And Mike has got a king size water.
Coffee.
Ah.
Yeah, I have to, after this is over, I have to go be chef daddy and the French maid. I have to put on my little French maid uniform and clean the kitchen and cook some salmon and asparagus and potatoes, because I'm on Spaceship Williams, as we call it. It's a schoolyard, too, in the middle of the house, because we got the two kids, kindergarten and the fourth grade, and then Amanda, she's a trumpet player, those who know her, but she's in GM, and she's not going back to work, so it's 24/7 us, And since we're in Michigan and the weather just sucks, basically, and if it's good weather, the weather doesn't let you know it's coming, but it'll come and stay long enough for you to pack your car up, then it's going to rain or something. So.
Yep, I hear you, man. I hear you. So you're
So the
splitting
kids
the
don't even
logs.
want to go out. They've given up.
Yeah, I don't
Lay
blame
in the
them
bath,
sometimes.
right, Daddy?
Yeah. So you're splitting logs. You're cooking. You're teaching trumpet lessons. What else can you do?
Clean house.
Clean house. Okay.
Yeah, but I try to get everybody else to join in. And yeah, we took down 9 big trees, 6 huge silver maples. A couple of them were 100 years old. So we have between 15 and 20 tons of 16-inch blocks in the yard. And I bought a $1,000 log splitter. And I split wood, and the kids and Amanda, they stack wood. So, that's what we got so far in the backyard.
Wow.
And the garage is already loaded up with 2 cords of wood. After it's all over, well, so far, we think we have 6 cords of wood. And I don't think we're halfway through yet. The front yard, it doesn't look like I've even put a dent in it.
Yeah.
So I do that a lot, but after 4 days of doing that, I picked up the horn today. Man, it was a lot easier to play.
Not feeling so heavy.
The exercise hasn't been on the front burner.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, if you need something to do with that wood, I think you can sell it to Terry Warburton to make some more of those William Utes of his.
Terry said, "Send me a piece of maple and I'll make you a woody." out of your own yard, And I'm thinking, oh, he's too busy for that.
Yeah, well, he's always busy. So anyway, Mike, you are you're a fascinating dude. I think the first time I met you was ITG in Anaheim. That's like when we really kind of got to hang out a little bit, and you were over at the P. Moriat booth with Adam, and of course Officer Tommy was there, and
I know police.
the High Note Police is Officer Tommy going to make a guest appearance today? That's the question.
No.
No, unfortunately.
Some of his kinfolks are going to end up in guacamole tonight to go along with the salmon.
Yeah, well, it's a sacrifice that we all must make at some point. But yeah, we got a really great chance to hang. I enjoyed just all the silliness that went on there, and yeah, I think that I began to learn more about you, and of course, doing research to prep for this, I did check your criminal history, and I'll keep those things buried for yeah. But yeah, you're a man. Like I said, you're a man of many talents. Besides being, great lead trumpet player. I mean, you spent 31 years on the Basie Band.
31 years. 31 years. Yeah, it was great. And I've told everybody, and I never subbed out once. Well, actually, that's true. I never subbed out. But about 20 years ago, I thought I was going to quit the band and get married and have life after Basie. So I quit. Roger Ingram came in for me. And after I found out about a month later that was the biggest mistake in my life, I missed a summer, and they didn't work much. I probably missed 2 weeks of work. I called Roger and said, hey, Roger, Harry's coming out with Pajama Game on Broadway. He's going to want you there. You're going to want to be there. And I want my gig back. So let's just call it even and get back on with our lives. So Roger said, okay. So, yeah, that was the only time. And I never subbed out any other gigs. Of course, I probably missed a set or two because of airlines not getting places on time,
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. That's a fantastic run, and I'm sure you have tons of stories related to the shows and some great stuff. I mean, you played with a lot of great people. I mean, who were some of the other cats that you played with back in those days?
Yeah, back in those days. That's a good way to put it. I and my contemporaries from North Texas, when I was there, like it was 35, 33 years ago, it was a great bunch of cats. And we all that did stuff after North Texas caught the tail end of the tail end of a big thing. Yeah. Everybody was still alive, As soon as I got on the Basie Band, immediately we started working with Diane Shure. Well, she's still around. The thing they did with she did with the Basie Band,
right?
That Byron Stripling played lead on. Well, I went in and we did that a lot. We were working with Tony Bennett a lot. Sarah Vaughan was just, sass. Which she knew everybody. We worked so much. We were going to Japan. We did stuff all over America. Ella Fitzgerald, we worked with her not too often, but it was still back then, like you were talking about, the first 15 years. The second 15 years was really wound down, we were out there for, we did 40 weeks a year on a big year, and it was 30 weeks. And then it got to be about 25 weeks a year, and then 15 years after I got on, it started really getting erratic,
Right.
The cost of being on the road. But back to your original, when I got on the band, we did a Grammy thing with George Benson. I think it was called the Big Boss Band featuring the Count Basie.
Oh yeah.
got a Grammy out for that one. And so we worked with him a lot on that. And that was fun because the arrangements were great, man. Frank Foster and that stuff. And European tours with George Benson and Japan. I don't remember. I think we did Japan also. But back then, one good thing about being on the band, that kind of a band, back in the late '80s and through the '90s, those European festivals in the summer, those things. Everybody was still alive. You go to those festivals and you were hanging with everybody.
Yeah.
Nice, 6 summers in a row, for the JVC Jazz Festival. George Wein was still king over there. And after we do the thing at Nice, during the day, you go back to it's the Hotel Ebola now. I think it was the Beach Regency right on the Mediterranean in Nice back then. The hang was going to happen. When it was over, it was elbow to elbow in the lobby of this giant hotel, and everybody was there. And there'd be a jam session, and the bar was packed, and it was the absolute best, everybody, John Faddis, I'm just having some pictures of people. I remember Kenny G coming in one night and saying this was pretty funny. Which one is Frank Foster? We all got a laugh out of that. But
yeah, that's great. And that's part of the reason why I started this podcast, is because anybody who's been lucky enough to do any kind of road work or be able to be part of some of the bigger conventions and things that go on, the hang. I mean, that's where the real fun stuff is. There is great. I love going to see a concert. I love hearing people play, but I learned so much more just by hanging. The stories and just the getting to know the people behind the scene. That's where you really pick up the good stuff.
Oh yeah, and I remember hanging at one of those in Scandinavia, at least one of those Dutch like jazz in parties. I think they would do this thing over there where there'd be a giant hotel, and the hotel would shut down and have this giant party with all the jazz people. They were, like I say, still alive. I remember hanging out all night long. Me, Frank Foster, a couple of Basie cats, until the sun come up. I think it was in Harold Jones's room or something, but it was Harold. Who was Ella's? Sarah Vaughan. And Sarah Vaughan all night long until the sun came up. I remember me and Frank Foster walking back to the hotel. I think Dave Gibson was with us, and Sass and Harold Jones, and can't remember the bass player and the piano player offhand right now. Yeah, that was a hang. And then back then, another big hang was with the cats on the bus. Some of the most fun times we'd have was after the gig. We never did a lot of hit and runs, but after the gig, we had a ride back to the hotel that was 30 minutes, had a great hang on the bus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those long travel days, like if a day off on the road is a 12-hour bus ride. They call that a day off, okay?
Yeah.
I kind of liked them. Everybody had their own thing on the bus. Everybody had their little taste of whatever, and it's time, or whatever. And we'd watch movies, and a lot of people think this might be kind of funny, but one of the favorite movies that we had on the bus, it was Blazing Saddles. Remember that thing? Well, of course.
Of course.
But all the racial slurs and everything in that movie, the cast would just be dying laughing, in the family. It wouldn't be public or anything. We got to a place in Boston to go work, and the thing wasn't over yet. Everybody stayed on the bus before we got off to go set up.
Yeah,
that's really great, especially when everybody was still alive, all the old timers,
Yeah. I think maybe that's one of the things. It's kind of interesting because now, with the internet and everything, you have access to so much information. You can see all these great performances by some of the classic artists, but there's just something about sitting down and talking, and not just so much talking about the music, but just talking about life. Because I'm a firm believer that music is just another method of communicating. It's us sharing our story. It's us connecting to one another, and that's your personality coming through. It's not just playing the chart. And the stuff that you get from those hangs. When you get to know the person and you get a deeper understanding into what makes them tick. I'm sure that there are a lot of stories that you could share, and I'm not going to ask you to do that. But the statutes of limitations have not quite expired on some of these events, I'm sure. But when you get to know the person, you start to understand a little bit more about how they play and why they approach things the way they do. Because it to be an artist, it truly has to come from inside you. So I miss the hangs, man. Miss the hangs.
And those hangs, especially, I'm 62, so I'm not really an old timer yet. But I used to laugh like 30 years ago. My first gig was on the Miller Band. It was Zoot was the leader, Dick Gerhardt. And the guy say, "Look out, man." I said, "What are you talking about?" Every day, it'd be the same 10 stories every day, And then I catch myself now in my early 60s, I'm telling the same stories. I said, "It's happening to me." But back then, listening to the old stories, and it was not hard to listen to these old timers tell where all this came from. It was not hard because they could circular talk. They never breathed, and you couldn't get a word in like if you had to go somewhere, and you were trapped. So, but you heard all these great stories. Gerald Wilson, holy moly, he got a hold of me on one of these hangs, talking about when he lived with Basie. He wrote so much for Basie back then, and I think it was probably the early 40s by then. And Basie wanted him to live with him just so he wouldn't go out and get into trouble, So, and he told me some stuff that made me understand the whole Basie things so much, and from where he was coming from.
Yeah.
So yeah, these, especially you get these old timers and get them to open up. And that's why I heard a lot of that stuff. These European bus rides.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes we'd have guests on the bus from other bands, and they would get started all night long on the bus, telling stories, and you just couldn't believe half of it, but probably true,
Yeah. Well, and when you said the Europeans, I don't know if you personally have experienced this or observed this. I've never had the opportunity to tour in Europe or anything like that, but just from observation, it seems that the Europeans had, at least like in the past few decades, a much greater appreciation of jazz than there was in the States. And I think that's maybe why so many of the festivals and so many of the artists would end up touring over there and spending so much time over there. It's like we lost appreciation for our art form. I mean, the form of music that was created here in this country, we tend to lose a little bit of appreciation from it. But did you experience that? Was that something that you could confirm or deny?
That's a weird phenomenon. It's like jazz. You can argue it, but we call it our music. It all started in Europe, and it just did this and did that, and it came with the field hollers and the stomps, and which went to the New Orleans, bump, bump, don't bump, bump, and it crept up the river, and it was like, it got to Chicago, and it's like, we call it our music, but it seems so weird that other parts of the country, Japan and Europe, seem to do more with it. Maybe there's a lot going on here. It's a big country,
Yeah.
But it seems like the respect, maybe we just take it for granted, you know,
Yeah. Mm.
maybe so. And then it's another lifestyle difference too. You know, we talk about the Europeans. Wow, they're really liking their jazz and these festivals. Oh my goodness, I really miss those summer festivals. But their work schedule's different, right?
Right.
Let's not check. They're not grinding at it. They have a lot more days off and things like that. Seems like they have learned how to chill out more. And what better thing to chill out at a jazz and then go to a jazz festival, you know?
Hey, I can't think of anything better myself, and I'm looking forward to the day that we can actually have another jazz festival here in the United States, any kind of music festival. I just want a gig. That is just so crazy. I mean, never thought I'd see the day when I couldn't go out and listen to live music, let alone go out and play live music. So
Here it is.
yeah, but we make the best of it, I guess. So anyway, with speaking of like making the best of it and pivoting, I didn't realize this, but you're part of this Masters of Music program the University of Arkansas is running. That for those people who don't know about this, this is an online program, higher education program, master's degree program in music, and it. When I found out about it, I was kind of amazed by it. So, what's your experience been with teaching in more of a virtual world, and especially doing this prior to all of this nonsense that's going on?
Hmm.
How's that been working out for you?
Good. I've been an adjunct professor at the University of Arkansas in Monticello, which is in the southeastern corner of Arkansas, due north of Monroe, Louisiana, a few hours. I've been with them probably over 10 years, you know, just doing online lessons with the undergraduates. And then they started this program. Oh, how long has it been? 5 or 6 years. Okay. A master's of music in jazz studies online. 2 weeks residency in the summer, everything online, and then 2 weeks residency the following summer. On your way out, in that 2 weeks, the new crew's coming in. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's during the second of that week is during their high school jazz band camp.
Mm.
So it's a big experience for everybody there, plus their classes. And then once again, the hang is great. You know, uh,
Yeah.
and that's been going on good, and it's been growing. You can get a master's of music and jazz studies for, I think, if the going rates there, it's like $12,000 is give or take, which is unheard of, and financial aid available.
Hey.
And one person who recently got out of there was one of my Basie mates, Andre Rice. I told him about it, and he got his master's of music, and now he's got a professorship teaching the jazz band and some jazz trumpet, maybe some history stuff um, in the Midwest, west of Chicago, about 4 hours. I forget exactly the university. Sorry, Andre. Yeah, but he got that for this degree. And the good thing about this degree, okay, and I'll try to just get to the chase, you know, you don't have to quit your day gig, and you're a band director. You don't want to go on sabbatical. You don't want to, you know, things are rolling. You want more money. You want to get that master's. You got a jazz band. You get a degree in the jazz studies. It's accredited by the NASM, which we all know is the Better Business Bureau of Schools of Music. And you, you don't have to put your life on hold and go live somewhere. You know, this is great for people who have a family. If you're on the road, you can do it. You know, if you're a show guy and you got some great shows and you're every week you can do this. We had someone from Air Force Band or Field Band do it this year, and they didn't have, you know, and the government paid for it.
Yeah, Yeah, that's great. I mean, it makes sense because, for so many people, and I was certainly one of those people, like where I was given an opportunity to go out and make a living playing or stay in college. And it's like, okay, well, I can either pay to play or get paid to play. So, I had to make that decision between what I wanted to do. So I think this is a great thing for people to be able to maintain, whether it's a teaching gig that they already have, or if they've got a full-time professional playing career, but just want to get that education. Man, this is some cutting-edge stuff, and it's coming out of the University of Arkansas. I mean, you would think it'd be someplace like UCLA or Berkeley, or it's like.
The guy who started this is Gary Meggs. Gary been a friend of mine for probably 40 years. He taught in Texas, retired from Texas, went to Arkansas. We did that and went to this university that had, I think they had a music degree, but they had a band, and that was pretty much all it was. It's a forestry college. And it's kind of like, how did the phenomenon at North Texas start? And where? In the middle of nowhere? I mean, back then, it was just between Dallas and Fort Worth. Gene Hall, I guess, kind of got that started, Leon Breeden, and then it grew into this fantastic monster. When I was at North Texas, there were 13 lab bands. There were 9 lab bands and 4 reading bands. There was 13 big bands there,
Man.
And it's still going. Baylock has got it now, and it's just tearing it up,
Yeah. Well, and that was actually the next thing I was going to ask you about was, going to North Texas, and obviously, there's so many great trumpet players that have come out of there, particularly like the lead players, Frank Green, Scott Englebright, just to name a few. But that had to be a really interesting place to be in, especially during that time, which kind of, in many ways, is kind of like the heyday, I think, of North Texas. And you got to study with Jake, if I'm not mistaken, right? You got a little bit of time with Don Jacoby, and
I did. He was not affiliated with the school, but anybody at the school that was serious went down the road and studied with Jake. And I was kind of busy. I was broke. I had to work at Arby's there. I didn't have a lot of time. So some of these phenomenal hangs at Jake's house, these parties that he would have, and, Chuck Finley, Ewan Racy would fly into these parties. And I wasn't there. That's probably the biggest regret that I have when I was there. Working on a master's was missing those Jake hangs. But that was a heck of a time to be there. You're right. I think maybe like in the mid-'70s when the Lizard album came out, that Lyle Mays and Mark Taylor was involved in that, I believe. That's probably one of the most famous albums, and we worshiped that place,
Yeah.
And, then when I got to go there some years later, it was a good time to be there. The 1 o'clock band I was in, well, Frank was there. He played lead and I played second one year, and I played lead and he played second the following year. And everybody in that band went on to do big things. Most of them had programs, their jazz programs all over the world, not just in America's neck of the woods. And it was the most fun I ever had that wasn't the real world. I've said that a bunch of times. I was a band director 3 years, high school band director, 7 through 12. That was some hard work. One guy,
Yeah.
at a north of Shreveport near Blanchard, Northwood High School. And I quit that job after 3 years and said, well, I know I'm not going to be a band director. I quit. I had no clue what I was going to do. I just sat at the house, and the book To Be or Not to Bop just came out. And I said, well, I guess I'll read this first. So I did that. And then my buddy Jerry Kynard, who roommate of mine at Northwestern State University in Natchitoches, where we got our a bachelor's of music education. Jerry went to North Texas to get a master's and said, Mike, come over here. It's great. And I said, I know it's great. I don't know if I can be there. You know, those guys are good. Shoot, I went over there. I was shaking. I was an old dude too. I was like 26 or something. I was old.
Yeah. You're old man.
That's so funny. Steve Wiest, he came right off the Maynard band, straight to the 1 o'clock lead alto. Me, Frank Green, Steve Wiest, the sax section was everybody in there. It was just phenomenal. And that was one of the greatest times of my life. Like a rebirth in your life, you know, like you hit a brick wall and then the heavens open up, and that was it.
Yeah, well, I can see that being like kind of a pivotal point because, there was just so much going on, so much creativity, and so much, drive and passion. So, yeah, you're going to you're either going to be caught on fire, or you're going to get burned out. So I'm glad that you didn't get burned out, and that it led to such a great career for you. So, you just mentioned you're originally from Shreveport. Yeah, you get back down to Louisiana much?
I try to get down there twice a year. So, okay, I got young kids. Okay, I got a late start. Okay, I got a 6-year-old girl, 10-year-old boy. Few years on my wife, but my mom's still down there, and an excuse to get the grandkids with the mom. So I try to get down there at Thanksgiving and as soon as school's out. Shoot, I booked a flight that said no more school for the rest of this semester. So I booked the flight, and as soon as it was time to go, things started to get kind of hot and heavy, and I had to cancel, you know.
Yeah.
But generally, I try to get down there a couple of times a year, see family and old friends, and get some real food.
I was gonna say, when you said Thanksgiving, do you guys fry your turkey?
Where I come from, my mom's part of the family is 100 acres way out in the woods. And my mom's siblings and some of the siblings' children have come out and claimed their inheritance part of that acreage. And now we have on 100 acres, 6 families or 6 households, and every household has a kitchen. So can you imagine what goes on down there during Thanksgiving?
Oh my!
Turkey? Yeah, my brother-in-law, he said, yeah, he fries a couple of turkeys, and then I'll make something with some oysters, or I even cooked some squirrel gumbo one year. I mean, it's phenomenal down there as far as eating.
I had a friend who was his dad was a professor down in Baton Rouge and LSU, and he was born down there, lived there most of his life, moved to Ohio when I was living in Ohio, and we used to work together. And he turned me on to fried turkey and jambalaya and crawfish and everything. And so I have a fond place in my heart for good old Louisiana style cooking.
Yep, the crawfish is the biggest thing I miss as far as the food, because it ain't happening up here.
Are you sure? I thought they had a lot of those in the Detroit area.
Yeah, they have them shipped up from Louisiana, if they have them.
Nice and fresh. Oh man, that's too good. So because I follow you on Facebook and stuff like that. I stalk you, and I see your cooking, your culinary skills going on. So that's honestly, I think that's if you decide that you want to give the trumpet a break, I think that should be the next thing you do. You should just go into doing some online tutorials on how to fry that stuff up.
a few years back, I like to do funny stuff, on Facebook. No politics, no just funny stuff and family. I was had this thing where I was cooking and practicing at the same time. Okay, this is from this. Oh, look at these potatoes; they're doing great. Some people said you need to have that show.
That could be it, man. That could be it. So yeah, so like the music scene that down in Shreveport. I mean, I'm not as familiar with the Shreveport area. I know obviously everybody knows New Orleans. And that being the epicenter of jazz, if you will, down there. But what was the music scene like in Shreveport when you were growing up in that area?
Well, there wasn't there wasn't a lot of stuff. Okay, now back in the old days, like maybe the 50s and the 60s, there was a lot of those gigs. Those bar gigs, or we call them honky tonks, and this and that. There was a symphony in town, and there might have been one or two big bands. There was church gigs. There was a lot of stuff, and and I guess probably around 1980 or whatever, it was legal to have the gambling there. So now we got the river boats down there on the Bossier and Shreveport side of the Red River, and that was some work for some people. There used to be a rehearsal band. Bill Causey, my good friend, a trumpet player in town, and he was a legend down there. He's been gone for a couple of years now, and he always had like a big band. And when I would come off the road, Monday nights was the big band night, and it paid a few bucks, but there wasn't a big music scene there. One thing straight, you see, Shreveport Bossier is not near enough any really bigger a metropolitan area. It's just a little too far from Baton Rouge. It's a little too far from Dallas, Fort Worth. So it was kind of like out there by itself to kind of fend for itself. But the musical community there, especially back in the 70s and maybe a little bit earlier, was pretty strong. And the union, before Right to Work, there were 600 people strong. And the Christmas party, the union party, was legendary down there back in those days. People would fly in from all over the United States to go to that party. So the music was happening back then a lot more. It's not a lot happening now. But if a few people who have what there is there, it's been consistent for them.
Yeah. So does anybody else in your family have any musical aptitude? That's assuming that you have musical aptitude, obviously, but
We all sang in the church choir. Me and my daddy was on the back row singing the bass, and my mom and sister was up there singing alto. And my dad played a little guitar back in the day, but and my sister took piano lessons. And so pretty much from the church,
yeah.
we all got it from there.
Yeah, well, that seems to be like a common theme for the South, and families that have some connection with that. I mean, I grew up in the church as well, and my dad was a musician prior to becoming a minister. He was a minister when I was born, but yeah, I mean, if you were in a community where you had the church, not where you went to church, but you had the church. That music is such a huge part of the process, and you like you said, you grew up singing in the choir, and getting exposed to all that good
That old time religion.
good enough for me.
Good enough for me.
Oh man! So you said that you're going to be cooking up some salmon. What is your favorite thing to cook?
I kind of like to barbecue or smoke.
Hey, don't be talking about smoking nothing, man. This is a family show. No, it's not a family show.
Man, we got 6 weed stores in Lapeer. Why does a town of 20,000 people need 6 weed stores? I bet you all those cats back that went to prison for one joint or whatever, and they get out, and they spent like years or some years in there, and now all this, they're probably saying, "Hey,
What's the deal, man?"
can I get something back?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So you say you like to smoke, so
Yeah. So actually, I put out a couple of slabs of ribs. I'm gonna smoke up some ribs the next rainy day. Bought my first brisket. I've been putting it off for years. I know I've got to try to smoke a brisket. One thing, I don't have the right equipment to trust something for 17 hours, invest 40 to 60 bucks on a hunk of meat, and it go horribly wrong. But I'm gonna try it out. I like to cook a gumbo. Gumbos are fun, but I like to make the expensive ones, and they take all day. Got to treat it with love, make the roux yourself. That's probably my favorite deals,
Yeah, what's your secret sauce there?
In what?
In your gumbo.
The roux.
The roux. You have the old Williams family secret.
No, the Williams family from my mom and her mom was just country cooking, And yeah, the secret sauce back then would be bacon grease. How many of you people saw the Folgers can?
Oh yeah.
Back of the stove.
Mm-hmm.
What's that in there? Well, that's bacon grease, honey. You pour that on anything, and now I know why everything tasted so good.
Yeah, I got a little more sophisticated, and now it's duck fat. For me, it's all about the duck fat.
I see that in the grocery stores now. It's like confit canal. The fat.
Just give me the duck fat, man.
I'm gonna do that. I think I'll get me some duck fat. Oh, that's sophisticated stuff right there.
Yeah, that's highfalutin right there. So, but yeah, well, I'm looking for the big reveal on your brisket. You should do a Facebook Live, and
if it's worth it. But you see, I don't like no dry brisket, no dry ass brisket, right? So I'm not gonna trim any of the fat on. I'm just gonna leave it all on the top. I mean, if it's thicker than that, I'll shave it down to about that. I'm just gonna leave it on there and let it get down there to where you don't need teeth to eat it,
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
Black's Barbecue out of Lockhart, Texas. Probably the best barbecue I've ever been to. Got 2 kinds.
Country and Western.
The fatty brisket, and then the other kind. They call it the healthy brisket. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh man, it's I think that you got to have some fat. I mean, that's fat and flavor, man. That's where it's all at.
Well, you got to moderate.
Yeah, well, that's true. Especially when you get a little bit older. You're only a couple years older than me, so I feel you. But it's I don't like lean cuts of meat.
What's the use?
Exactly. It's like decaf coffee.
That's right.
Or non-alcoholic beer. I mean,
I tried some of that. Still got the last bottles in there somewhere. No.
It's crazy stuff. All right. Well, here's what we're going to do next, Mike. I have a portion of the show that I call the speed studies. I got this idea when I was a kid, a young trumpet player. I remember my teacher giving me a book called Nagel Speed Studies, and it was all these crazy whack ass fingerings that just made you go nuts. Yeah, I see your brain already twitching. So it's just going to be a series of, it's the high notes. It's all those high notes, man. Just a series of questions. They're going to go all over the place. I just want you to give your quickest, most succinct response to this, considering that you're a swamp dog. It could take a lot longer than for most people, but we'll see how this rolls.
What are you thinking about that?
Well, one day. All right, here's our first question.
Well,
First question, and it's going to start with the trumpet world. Who's the biggest influence on your life that is not a trumpet player?
it's a musician.
Doesn't have to be a musician. Just who's impacted you the most that's not directly a trumpet player.
Probably either one of my parents. They taught me how to act, as we say. Okay.
We'll have to talk to your mom about that one.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mom.
All right, what's your favorite book?
Book. Okay. Okay, I mentioned it earlier. To Be or Not to Bop was really good because it got a lot of stories about what was going on. Probably even before that, it was Bird Lives.
Okay. What's the worst movie you ever saw?
This is so funny. Talk about putting somebody on the spot. Some of the worst movies are the best. It would be like Plan Something from
Plan 9 from Outer Space?
You're Stupid. All of you are stupid. You see? Stupid. That one?
Yeah.
That's the one.
Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Yeah, okay.
All right. If you weren't a trumpet player, what would you want to do?
If I weren't a trumpet player,
Yeah.
I have thought about that. I'm so glad been blessed to be a trumpet player. The cooking thing seems to be a logical thing, but I may end up hating it. You know, because those guys who make it, hey, it's just like making it in the trumpet world, big time. I mean
Yeah.
yeah. No, you got to practice 10 hours a day, or whatever. Seriously, I don't know if I want to spend 80 hours a week cooking food, but I might. That might be something to do. I should make biscuits in this area. I thought about that, being the biscuit maker, because the biscuit sucks around here.
Oh man, yeah, it's bad. It's bad. When Cracker Barrel biscuits are the best biscuits you're going to get in the area.
Well, yeah, and they're a lot better than the ones that we can get around.
Oh yeah, I hear you. All right, what is your favorite drink?
Fizzy water.
Fizzy water.
That's me and my daughter. We got the Soda Stream. We drink that.
I do too.
And there's been other kind of drinks that I have enjoyed in the past.
Once or twice.
And big this good old beer. I'm kind of, there's so many calories and stuff. It actually, during all this lockdown stuff, I hadn't gained a pound. Bam, right on there. And I'm not exercising either, but I'm not drinking any bunch of beer. But I like the good old beer. I like Budweiser. I like Bud for years, and that's switched off. And every time I switch off, bad things happen. Ask my wife.
We don't want anything bad to happen to you there, Mike. Okay, so here you go. You could have a dinner party, and you don't have to cook for this. Okay, you have a dinner party with any 3 living people. Who would you invite?
Where do you come up with this stuff?
I don't sleep much.
You need 3 living people.
Any 3 living people.
Who would I invite? Hey, this is kind of funny. I think I would probably I think I would invite our hero Wayne Bergeron because I've never got to hang with Wayne, and I think we could like to break some bread together. That'd be something. I mean, he popped into my head right there.
Yeah.
Um, and who else that's living? Well, holy smokes!
Didn't know you have to think, right?
Yeah. You got me on that one. I have no clue.
You got two more. I know Wayne eats a lot. I can tell you that from experience. But
Okay, there you go. Okay. That'd probably be pretty good then.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have to be a musician.
Oh yeah. Gonna have a dinner party. Pass.
I call the lifeline.
Pops in my head. I'll let you know.
Okay. Well, then we're going to stay with the same dinner party, but we're going to switch the guest up. 3 people from history.
Louis Armstrong. I know it's a musician.
Oh,
Still
get
dinner
musicians
party,
are fun.
right? And well, um, so weird. I don't know. Daniel Boone.
So I got Louis, Daniel Boone, and who else?
You know, like an outdoorsman person, I've always been kind of fascinated in that kind of thing. You know, so yeah, that and Louis because he was the first trumpet player I heard, and maybe one more would be boy, I must be a boring guy.
You're not boring, Mike. You're not boring at all.
How about maybe this is where you edit, right?
No, there is no editing on this.
Oh wow. Uh maybe Julia Child. God.
Oh man, so Louis, so you got Pops, you've got Daniel Boone and Julia Child. Man, that would be one hell of a dinner party.
I could probably come up with a certain dish by picking each of their brains about this and that,
There you go. I'm sure you could. Okay, lacquer plated or raw?
I think lacquer. I went raw, for a while.
All right. What's your favorite quote?
Come on. My favorite quote. Well, it's kind of cliche, kind of trite. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing.
Do up, do up, do.
Yeah.
Oh well, that's
Because I
that's a
go,
good one.
everything got to, if it's going good, it's swinging.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. All right. What is your biggest fear?
Wow, fear. Standing would be crashing on a on a trumpet thing. Maybe not so much lead, but the feature things that I've been doing more since life after Basie. Uh, yeah, standing in front. What about? And you got this thing and missing the high note. I never miss the high notes. It be the low notes, but the biggest fear. And people say, well, what's your motivation? Well, and as a trumpet player, our motivation is can be just the sheer joy of playing the trumpet. When I hear the trumpet or live, and I couldn't stand it, I would have to run to where I was. Even at North Texas, there's so many bands I would have to run to get there. But the the fear, the biggest motivator, the easiest motivator? It's not because I love the trumpet or I want to learn this thing. Fear will put me right in this seat with the trumpet in my hand quicker than anything else.
Yeah. Well, it's a powerful motivator, that's for sure. All right. So you could have only one superpower. What would it be?
Oh, now I'm going to get all Miss America. I would like, well, if I had one super player, man, I'd be a healer. Holy moly, man, if we ain't got our health, I'm not old yet, but they said, Mike, old ain't pretty. Old is not for the faint of heart. Growing old sucks. Well, what? Because, this and that, the health issues and stuff. I've been pretty lucky, but I think a healer would be, have to be Miss
Yeah.
America on you on that one.
That's a good one. That's a good one. We certainly need more of those. Okay. We're going to go back into the world of trumpet. What aspect of trumpet playing do you think is the most underrated?
This is really good because I've been talking to a lot of students and contemporaries about this. These underlining nuances, okay, so, and what those would be vibrato, shakes. I'm going to do I've been, before the plague hit, I was going to get this thing about different shakes. These nuances, the vibrato, the shakes, and of course it's easy for me to come up with this because of all the years on the Basie Band doing this stuff every night. There's a lot of bands that don't use vibrato. Well, that's their style, but a lot of bands don't use vibrato because they don't know about how to do it and the possibilities. The shakes. I hear a great trumpet player play, and then he has to do a shake, and it's like he's got a stock shake, and it's just so out of character. And so those nuances, the do-its, the point, the fall off, all the those things that make jazz sound like jazz, that a lot of people aren't doing these days. I think they're underrated. A lot of the band directors, high school band directors, underrate them because they don't know what to do with them, So I will say the jazz nuances, especially pertaining to the big bands.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so if you have classified those as the most underrated, what would you say are the most overrated aspects of trumpet playing?
The overrated. The high notes. Oh God, I don't want to step on any toes, but I'm seeing now that I've on Facebook. What would we have done without Facebook during this kind of crisis?
Okay.
Maybe learn something more. Maybe learn how to read a book. Okay.
How about that?
So,
Or cook a brisket.
oh man, what was the question?
What do you think is the most overrated aspect of trumpet playing?
Like the high note. Everybody wants to hear the high notes. Okay, it's exciting. A high note on a trombone or a tube, but not so exciting. On a flugelhorn, who cares? On a trumpet, well, who cares unless it's a really bright high note. And it's like, and now you see all these people on the Facebook playing these things, and some of them can't stand it unless they play a G above double C, you know. So I'm kind of sick of it now. Like it just takes there's too much, you know. Uh, you have so much of something, and it's okay. Here's a good one. The more you say, the less it means. That's a good quote.
That's a great quote.
Say, the less it means. Maybe I should have used that then. Whatever. For trumpet, the most overrated. I'd probably say maybe that, you know, and you got to be. I have to be careful. You know, step on some toes and whatever. You know, this is the way it is. Some people and want to play the Carnival of Venice. You know what? I played the shit out of that thing when I was a senior in high school, when I should have been learning how to play a C7 chord. I can't play the Carnival of Venice now. The Arbans, you know, I can't play that. But if I'd have been trying to learn my scales and arpeggios, it might be a lot better. All right. A big overrated thing. Okay. Etudes. People are playing etudes for the wrong reason. I'm seeing a lot of this on Facebook. Okay. Listen to me play this and this and this. Well, that's great. A lot of my buddies out there who are going to say, oh, no, he's wrong. Well, no, I'm right, because these etudes are written not for the sake of the etude. They're to help you to learn how to play the trumpet better. So when you start having an etude as a goal for the sake of that, it's wrong. You got to figure out the point of the etude and get on with it. I'll never practice a whole Charlier, maybe the number 2, you know, the ones that are really pretty or whatever. But a lot of these Charliers, if you just do part of it, and you get through it, that's the point, okay? But there's the musical, I mean, there's a goal to play a lot of these etudes through. There's a lot of benefits for doing that, but you got to know why you're playing these etudes, you know. And the fast notes, that's great. It's kind of like high notes. You're going to impress the crap out of some people on that. But when you get to the point to where you can't play musically, playing musically is really underrated. I see a lot of people on the Facebook and they're going, this is me doing this. And a lot of them sincerely are asking for help, you know, What can I do? Well, this is me doing this. There. And it sounded like, okay, you played the notes, but where's the phrasing and all that? You know, phrasing is underrated. Well, nuances, I said that's underrated. But overrated, you know, the sensationalism of what the trumpet can do. You know, if we can't play a Conconi lyrical study and make somebody feel from that, all that other stuff to wow people, it's not going to go as far as you might think, you know. And a lot of people just wowing themselves. Oh yeah, listen to me. Well, what do I do all day? I guess I sit in here and wow myself, right?
You can go blind doing that. Now you can see. I'm with you 100% on that, because I mean, there's, yes, technique is important, but it's, I tell people in martial arts the same thing, that, everything that, when you're learning stuff like this, it's to help you be able to express what you want to express with less restrictions. So yeah, if you can play, Clark 2 at 700 beats a minute, then great. That means you got supreme technical facility. But if you don't have a valid idea, or if you don't have a valid intention or emotion that you're trying to express, then it's just it's basically musical masturbation. So
That's it. Like that Carnival of Venice, I reached my goal. And that's very important. I'm a senior in high school. I'm going to put here, I'm going to go up one notch a day if possible. And by the time it's time, then it's go. And yeah, man, I had that thing. But like I say, that's all I could play, as far as anything, anything good.
yeah, well,
You got to
I
be able to play some lyrical stuff.
yeah, yeah. I've often talked about, especially with younger. Well, like I said, also because of my background in martial arts and with musicians as well, talking about the difference between like being someone who's technically correct and having no feeling and maybe being a little sloppy but having a lot of feeling. It's like, if you could listen to a great guitar player who's got chops out the wazoo, but all he's doing is just playing fast riffs. But you listen to B.B. King play 2 3 notes and you automatically can feel what he's trying to get Lucille to tell you. So
You're right. But then there come a time
there come a time, preach.
I like to listen, maybe not for hours on end, listen to a little bit of Megadeth and Metallica.
Yeah,
Because
it's
because for the reason that they can wow. It's like, hey, how do they do that? And especially if it's rocking out, I like to rock out some.
yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely,
then chill out on the other end.
yeah.
Man, do you remember the Dixie Dregs?
Oh, Steve Morse.
Get out! People have forgot about that.
Oh man.
Those guys couldn't even read, and what facility that? But when they funk out on some ice cakes, oh man, I still get a groove on that.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That was the band. That was big when I was in when I first started college. I mean, we were all listening to the Dregs. So even in Ohio. Okay, so let's think about this. If you're able to go back in time, what advice would you give your younger self about music?
Oh, that's a good one there. To give my self advice about music. In general or performance, whatever I come up with. Okay. The good trumpet player, the good musician, the good technician is going to be the smart trumpet player. Okay. Work smarter, you know. Don't just clock in. The more we work with young people, um, the young people that want to be more than just in the club of band, that want to get good, is to practice smarter. Don't clock in. They sit down and they grab a book. I think I'm playing this today. I'm practicing. And they, why am I not getting any better? Okay, so as far as trumpet, in my younger self, I would have said, you need to find a routine that works for you and stick to a routine. A lot of us have a warm up, and that's the only part of the routine that you have, or even if you do practice scales and arpeggios, have it planned out. How are you going to do it? How are you going to get to all of the keys? A routine is something that we take for granted. Oh, yeah. But a lot of people don't get it. A lot of people do not have a routine. It's got to be a lifelong thing, And it changes. When you're in school, you'll have your routine. But if you don't know how to have a routine, when you graduate from the last degree that you were working on, you're out there and you don't, a lot of them don't have a job playing or whatever, and they don't know how to sustain themselves. You've got to have a routine that fits what style you want to play, and you better be able to do a little of all of it, you know. We all know that now. But it's
Yeah.
got to be more than just I'm gonna play. Oh, I think I'll play this today or play that. My routine lasts an hour and 15 minutes, and every day I play, except I've had to chop wood or something, you know, weather, you know, things happen. It's an hour and 15 minutes, and it's exactly the same thing every day, except it might be in a different key. And 12 days after I've gone through 12 keys, then I start over, but it's the same thing every day.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never heard anybody explain it that way. That's really cool.
And it's what's getting me through this thing, you know. All my gigs, yeah, I don't have any gigs either. But I tell you what, when I'm sitting here and oh crap, you know, I know my routine. I can do that, and I'll sit down there and do it. You know, I did most of it today before I had to start teaching. Goes
Yeah.
everything, and it starts with that G to C that Don Jacoby taught all of us in Denton, Texas, about the air, and that was 33 or 4 years ago.
Yeah. That's establishing that base. That's very cool. All right. So same thing. You get to go back and you get to talk to your younger self, but this time, what advice would you want to give yourself about life?
Live. I've been I've done pretty well on some of my things, you know. I've made my mistakes, okay, but it's advice on life. Well, it's kind of like Mr. Rogers. Be nice. You know, the three things: be nice, and be nice. Okay. Um, and I've done pretty well on that, and I've never really had many enemies. Not any really enemies is button heads, but I've had some people do me wrong, but not a lot. I just wanted to be everybody's drinking buddy, you know, back in, so to speak, you know, back in the day,
Yeah.
and you know, now I want to be the guy, not win popularity contests. I've never done that, but be fun to hang with. Um, be nice. Don't be. We know what happens when we start talking about each other. It's going to come right back and to bite you in the ass 100% of the time. And least when you least expect it. When you think things are going great, and it'll come right back about something you said, you know. That's a big deal. And I got buddies in New York, you know. Oh yeah, he got a rep. He's not in New York anymore. He had to leave because talking about people, you know. Yeah, just be nice. Don't suck up. Don't want to be liked, but just be nice. Throw a smile out, and a smile might come back to you, you know.
Well, that is great advice, Mike. And like you said, you are a good drinking buddy. You're a good hang. So I want to thank you for giving your time today to spend with me and to everybody listening. And I got a lot out of this. I got a whole lot out of this. And if people want to find out more about you, what you're doing, where should they go?
Well, there's the website, if anybody even looks at these things anymore. But I got a pretty good website. It's got a lot of YouTube on there, live performances with the Basie Band, and then some funny stuff down the line. I like my funny stuff. It's MikeWilliamsTrumpet.com. And then I have a Facebook page. It's a Mike Williams clinician, educator, whatever like that, you know. And you can find me on that.
Not doing any TikTok yet? Yeah, you're such a funny guy. I would expect you to be doing some TikTok soon. So ask your kids to teach you all about that.
TikTok?
TikTok.
What is that?
It's the new big app. All these little videos, like these little, short videos.
Oh, well, I'm probably watching that stuff.
You probably are. Just didn't know what you're watching.
Some of them has me rolling, and then I'm ready to get out of bed and go start making lunches and telling people what to do. And
that's what I see for you in the future. So anyway, Mike, thanks again for everything. It was great hanging with you virtually, and look forward to the days that we can get together.
It's the conventions again, if they ever have those again. Hope they're not going to be virtual, online conventions.
Yes, and I'm actually looking forward to one of these days being able to enjoy some of your barbecue, so that good old Louisiana style cooking. So put that on the list for show. All right, so thank you all for spending time with us today, and as always, peace and slide grease. We are out. Hey, thank you so much for hanging with us today. This podcast is all about creating connection through our mutual love for the trumpet life. I hope that you learned a few things about today's guest and had some laughs along the way. Don't forget to give us a review. We love those 5-star ratings. And please share this podcast with your friends. We want to see our hang grow for show. Have a suggestion for a future topic or a guest? Hit me up at thetrumpetgurus@gmail.com. Our opening theme was written and performed by Lexi Signor, and all other music comes courtesy of The Greatest Funeral Ever. So in the words of W.C. Handy, life is like a trumpet. If you don't put anything into it, you don't get anything out. So go out there and let your trumpet sound. And I'll see you at the next hang.